Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you're wondering why everything looks different and why I look different than the footage in this video, that is because this is my third time filming everything. I was editing today and then I realized, well today as in like as I'm filming this new intro, I realized that there was a crap ton of background noise that I couldn't get rid of. So I figured instead of, you know, messing around for too long and then not being able to fix it, I'd just refilm it. Plus I was a little bit awkward in that intro. Anyway, so this is my tutorial on how to make a Deadmau5 head completely out of foam. This was made in about 24 hours, a little under 24 hours. So it's not going to look as beautiful as it could be. This is also my very first one, and so here it is, just in case I didn't get enough, thank you chair, just in case I didn't get enough footage of it in the video. The eyes have LEDs in it, there's little bolts and everything here, hand painted, rust, all that jazz. There's cushion foam inside of it. Pretty sure that's what I was trying to get at. Oh, and then you can't really see that in the video, but there's all the goriness to it. I'm sure people are probably wondering why I made mine differently than everybody on the internet, and what I mean by making mine differently than everybody else's is so 99%, wow, I suck at words. 99% of people that make Deadmau5 heads will use those plastic domes that are for lamp posts. They will run you about $60 to $80 depending on what website you're getting them from and whether or not you can get them in real life or if you have to order them online. Personally, I have to order them online because nothing in my region of Indiana sells them, so that sucks. But back to my statement. Not only are those a little bit more heavy than foam, but you have to use a hard hat, like an adjustable hard hat, in order to keep it in place when you're wearing it because it's so heavy and because it's a little bit bigger than foam. Now, my particular client bought this so that he can DJ in it, and he has to wear his headphones. So I was like, well, you know, I can't really use the little plastic domes that everybody else uses, so why not try it out of foam? I am very thankful that he wanted it to be kind of like metal, steampunk type of machine mixed with zombie aspects and all that jazz, because had he not wanted that, I wouldn't have been able to get the particular seams seamless, if that makes any sense. I'll talk through that in the tutorial where I basically go through how you're supposed to make a foam dome, and unfortunately I didn't have the piece that you run the foam over when you heat it up to make it nice and rounded. Your cutting of the foam really does matter. Really take your time on it. Personally, since I already knew what I was doing with this, it doesn't really matter because it needed that kind of like aspects with the seams and everything to make it look more, you know, kind of like pieces of metal put together and all that jazz. So yeah, so far I have not seen anybody make their mouse heads completely out of foam. I will have the links and everything for all of that stuff down in the description box. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Also, I am incredibly sorry for being so ridiculously awkward. I haven't been on YouTube in a good like 2 or 3 years, so I'm a little bit rusty. But yeah, if you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. If you're rude, those go up for review and then we make it, so don't waste your time. But without further ado, let's get into it. Also, I did not really go in depth with making the overall domes, particularly because I'm going to link the Evil Ted tutorial anyways. Evil Ted basically talks about how to make the foam dome. He's the one that I got the pattern from. The only thing that I did differently was I took the PDF and I made it bigger on my screen, and then I traced it because he did not have a 14-inch dome pattern and I needed a 14-inch dome pattern. So it's basically his tutorial. I just put them together, except I did not put one of the pieces in because I needed it for the mouth. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go forth and craft things.
Okay, so the first thing you want to do is get your supplies. We're going to be using some foam mats from Lowe's and also a plastic dome that they use for street lamps. These are going to be the eyeballs. And then you're going to need some upholstery foam for the inside cushion, some Evil Ted patterns. We're going to be using the 10-inch pattern as a base. These are the dome patterns, by the way. You're also going to need some insulation foam. I'm using 1-inch insulation foam. You don't want to use 2-inch because it's too thick. And you're also going to want to get some of this wire. It's like for cages or gardens or whatever. And then you're also going to need some fabric for the mouth. For the sake of the video, I'm showing some spandex. I ended up going with Jersey Dazzle because it was the most see-through. What you want to do first is, well, in my case, I made the pattern a little bit bigger. I decided to make it bigger by using my computer screen. I blew up the PDF file with the 9-inch and 10-inch pattern pieces, traced them once I figured out how big that I wanted them, and then I cut out that piece after marking all of my little, I don't know what you call them, darts, I guess you could say. And then how I traced them onto my foam is I first traced one half, then I flipped it over, and then traced the other half. You want to make sure that you are on the dot, so I went ahead and also marked the top of the pattern. That way I knew where to place it when I flipped it over. You want to make your cuts nice and clean, so I recommend using a brand new blade every time you go to cut, like any new builds you have. In particular, I threw away this blade or switched it to the other half after I was done with this. Now, since I'm lazy and didn't want to cut all of my little darts out, I went ahead and just marked them by moving the piece to the side a little bit, and that's how I did that. You definitely want to keep these pieces on because they help you line up your pieces and to not make it uneven. This is the part that kind of screwed me in the end. Honestly, it didn't really matter because I didn't really care. I was needing seams anyway to make it look industrial, so yeah. What you want to do is make sure that you really take your time in cutting your pieces because it really does matter, especially with these foam domes. It also matters whether or not your pieces are rounded out enough. I will link a video in the description box for how Evil Ted did it. Personally, I did not have the tool that he made because I realized that I really wasn't going to use it, so I really shouldn't invest my time into it. If I do make more of these heads, I definitely will be investing in that tool because it would make life a lot easier, and I'm not sure everybody is going to want these like industrial metal looking mouse heads. So yeah, it didn't really matter because I was going to need some seams anyway, and I was going to cover it in craft foam in the end. So yeah, I'm using DAP Wood Weld, also, weld wood, whatever, to adhere all of my little pieces together. I'd recommend getting the gel formula though because it dries out less quick of a time. I'm filming or recording this super duper late, so I do apologize. Now what you want to do is you want to get some liquid nails and any type of big seams that you don't want, fill it in with this little spatula. You can get it in most like art supply stores. Now that everything is dried and ready to go, I'm putting in the little cage wire thingies. I don't know what this is called. I bought it for when my rats were babies, so anyway. I went ahead and cut it. I wanted it to be all around the mouth, but unfortunately, since my cuts weren't super duper even, I didn't get to do it, so I just made it into little tiny pieces. It ended up making it a lot easier to see out of anyways, so yeah. Next, we're moving on to the ear pattern. Unfortunately, my camera did not record when I was patterning it, but you can kind of see what I did. I just kind of sketched it out until I got a look that I really, really wanted. I will have this linked as a PDF if I can below. If not, if you were a patron for last month, then you got this pattern. It might still be up on Patreon, I'm not sure, depending on what I decide to do, so yeah. Basically what I did to pattern out my desired size of ears is I wanted it just as tall as a normal size piece of printer paper, but I didn't want it to be as small in width. So I taped 2 pieces together, and then I went on from there. So now you want to cut out your ears. I'm using a 1-inch insulation foam. So what you want to do is you want to take your pattern and pin it to the foam and cut it out. The longer your blade, the better. If you have a longer box cutter blade, that is probably best. So I did not, unfortunately, and it kind of broke the sides, but I used that to my advantage, so I didn't have to carve the ears as much. I wanted the fronts to be a little bit more rounded than the backs. I wanted the backs to be very, square and very harsh. So I am using a P90 grit sandpaper, and then a finer grit sandpaper that I unfortunately do not know the grit of because it didn't have it listed in the back, but it is a very fine grit sandpaper that you want to use at the end. You really, really, really want to smooth out your foam. That way, when you coat it in Mod Podge, you are able to get it nice and smooth. I'm not covering these in Worbla or in foam, so working the foam to be really, really smooth is really key. You really want to take your time with this, as well as getting your shape. So after you are done with your sanding, and when you put it on the ears, I'm using the Loctite spray adhesive. I really don't like this adhesive, but it's the only spray adhesive that I have. I hate it, honestly, but I bought it, so I have to use it. If you have Spray 77, that would be best. I'm going to be putting some of this thin craft foam all around the head to give it a kind of sheet metal Frankenstein look. Then after you are done with that, I didn't record it, but you really want to go in with Mod Podge. Since you are going to be spray painting this whole thing, and spray paint and insulation foam don't agree at all. Anyway, here we are with the eyes. You're going to need a hacksaw for this. I didn't really do a super duper great job at tracing the eyeballs because, again, this was my first time doing it and I really wasn't sure what to do. So I kind of just sketched around the whole sphere and then cut it. Obviously, I had a little bit of trouble. It's very, very hard when you don't have anything to hold the base of the little orb. I always forget how. A plastic globe. There we go. Anyway, it's really, really hard to cut these, so please, 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 please be careful. So now you want to figure out where you want your eyeballs to be. Mine totally fell off when I was not looking, so I decided to keep that as a blooper. But yeah, that's where I decided to put mine. And now what you want to do is you want to spray paint it. I went ahead and did a hefty coating of both matte black and gloss black, just so I could get a kind of, worn and like weathered feel to the whole head. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking a really, really good silver spray paint. This is by Rust-Oleum, and I'm essentially spraying the air towards the head so that wherever it sticks is where the silver shows. I really like doing this for any type of armor or metallic metal mimicking thing that I'm making because it makes it look really, really natural, really worn, and overall I just really like how it looks. You can't really see it on my camera though, because it's really, really old. It's a stupid old camcorder because cameras are expensive. So basically what I am doing now is I'm putting in the lights. I'm using a soldering iron to put the holes in there for the lights. And then what you're seeing with the outlines for the eyeballs is I went ahead and made a trench with my rotary tool. I took the little spinning disc attachment and I went ahead and just drilled all around it to make sure that there was a nice trench to really sink the eyeballs into. And I just attached those with hot glue. How I got the eyeballs to glow really, really well is I used Jessica Negri's little method, which I will link down below for her Cindergosa cosplay. And how I did these little bolts is I just used some thumbtacks and those little paper foldy doodads, as well as the bigger bolts are made out of craft foam. Here's the head pretty much essentially done. I went ahead and attached the Jersey Dazzle with some hot glue, and then additionally I just added some more things that I really, really thought would fit, especially with the gory SFX of the ear. Here it is inside and how well you can see out of it. Obviously my camera can't really pick up how well it is able to be seen through words. Why? Because it's camera and, you know, whatever. It had to be really, really see-through for my client because he is a DJ and he wanted to DJ in this head. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out our insulation foam. I'm basically just cutting out whatever I feel would fit in the head. I cut the big square in half, then I cut a bigger part, and then I'm going to cut the tiny last part in half to make it for the back, the top, and then the sides. After you glue these in with some spray adhesive, you're pretty much done and ready to rock and roll. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below and I will try to get to them.